still be kept density neutral, where you're having more green space, but also some commercial development that provide the stores and other things that we do like to go to once in a while. And that by doing that, we will have the financial resources to help us pave our roads, fix our intersections, build our parks, and the other things that are important to, I believe, most of the people in the city.
Thank you, Ms. Thurman. 60 seconds, Mayor Lockwood.
Thank you. I have always said that I believe Milton can be financially viable with what we have and what we inherited from Fulton County. And by that I mean we didn't have a whole lot. I believe now, 3 years later, our citizens have more services and better services than they did 3 years ago. And I believe we can, within our budget, we can keep moving forward. The thing that we will have to address, as our citizens want more and expect more, whether it's parks and recreation, improvements, whatnot, we will have to pay for those. So the decision is really up to our citizens and the council as to what we want to fund and as we move forward. So, like Councilmember Thurman said, I totally agree. I want to see Milton with 86% of unspoiled land, if you want to call it, residential, agricultural, stays the same, and that we take the 14, 16% of previously commercial zoned areas and allow those to develop within the guidelines, but that will take some of the tax burden off the citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 60 seconds, Mr. Longoria.
No city, regardless of its size, can provide its citizens with services without some type of blend of revenue sources. Cities that try to do this just on a real tax base can't make it happen. Either that or the services that they provide are pale in comparison to what they really need. The facts are that the city of Milton is 30,000, and 30,000 citizens are going to demand a lot more service than what we deliver today. And the time to start making that happen is now. We can't wait 2 years down the road for this. So by just supporting commercial areas that are zoned today, not expanding those zoned areas, just supporting what's zoned today, we can tip the balance in terms of our revenue model and gain some important revenue in order to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Longoria. 60 seconds, Mr. Lusk.
City of Milton is supported, well, has 14% of its area devoted to commercial. By comparison, the city of Alpharetta has approximately 50% of their tax base that's commercial. I think we can readily see the amount of services provided to each of our cities here. I believe there's enough area out there right now that is zoned commercial that has not been developed, that could obviously be developed further into commercial property. I think that's where you increase your tax digest, and that was a question, I believe. There's been talk, and I think there's been resistance about including the Georgia Highway 140 corridor as a commercial corridor. But I think that needs further study. I think our financial model that Karen was talking about here is going to indicate that we probably need that area for further commercial and tax base to provide the services that we need out here.
Thank you, Mr. Lusk. Final word, 30 seconds. Ms. Thurman.
As chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee for the City of Milton Steering Committee, my task was to see whether or not, as a city, we could provide the same level of service as we were previously receiving from Fulton County. And that was something that we could provide pretty easily. The truth of the matter is our residents deserve a much higher level of service than that. And I believe that we need to work on two things. We need to work on, number one, developing the areas that are appropriate for the commercial, which is very, very limited, most of it's already zoned commercial. And we also need to work on bringing businesses into the vacant storefronts and office buildings in our already built commercial properties in order to bring in the revenue that we could use for the city to fix our intersections, our roads, and our parks.
Okay. Next question is for Mr. Longoria. Your candidacy has been painted by your opponent as a mere tool of the Crooked Creek Subdivision Homeowners Association. Other than to represent their interests, is there anything else that motivated you to run for council?
Okay, well, first of all, let me just say, the citizens of Crooked Creek, while a lot of them are my friends, they did not motivate me to run for the city council. Most of them looked at me with disbelief when I told them that I had put my candidacy, my application in. In fact, my wife looked at me the same way. So what motivated me was Joe Longoria. What motivated me was the thoughts that I had about how the city could be better. What motivated me was my own personal belief that every citizen is responsible for doing something with the city that